I read an article about a matchmaker. Oh my God, that's actually a profession. I'm a consultant. If you want to go to the gym, you need a fitness trainer. This is what I do when they're trying to find their romantic partner. Why do people apply to 200 jobs in 2 weeks? They're not doing the same thing for dating. Illusion of choice. People think there's millions of people out there. The challenge is someone has like really high expectations, but the person that they want to date don't really want to date them back. I say, look, these are the ladies that rejected you, and these are the reasons why. Even if it hurts, I have to give them certain feedback. I want for people to be inspired. Just go out there. Consistency is exactly what will help you in the journey.
There's only one thing on your to-do list. What are you waiting for? Hit subscribe.
The To-Do Show, the To-Do Show, the To-Do Show, the To-Do Show.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm so interested. What does a matchmaker do in a day? I've loved looking at all of your Instagram content over the past few weeks, and I really, really admire how you talk about prioritizing authenticity and people showing up as their best selves first. I think that sounds opposite of what I'd imagined previously, a matchmaker to really lean in on. So it's really amazing and inspiring to hear you talk about just the importance of being authentic and being your best self. I love to start every interview by asking, how do you normally answer the question, what do you do?
So I basically just give a kind of like a analogy that I'm like a consultant. Let's say if you want to go to the gym, you need a fitness trainer. If you want to open a business, you need like an advisor. So this is what I do for people when they're trying to find their life partner and romantic partner. So I not only match people, but also see like how we can see what has to be done, whether it's a strategy, whether some behavior after during the date that somebody's performing. Maybe someone needs a great photo session. So all of that is basically all in one that we do. So we analyze the client and see like what's point A and that what's the goal, what's point B, right? So it's kind of a personal journey that everyone needs to go through to find that person. And of course, we match you with people who are as aligned as you are based on values. So that's what I do if in a nutshell.
Amazing. Something you said just triggered me thinking about this one post that you did about how people are always making their kind of like to-do lists and 5-year plans and stuff for their career, but they're not doing that for their personal life. Could you just kind of reiterate that post? Because it was really powerful.
Yes, absolutely. So if you want to like have family and kids, if that's your goal, especially if you want to have two kids, you need to kind of plan ahead because it takes time to get to know someone. It takes time for you to be intentional and focus and actually go on dates. So you need to reverse engineer it. So if you have a goal of meeting someone and have, let's say, one kid, you need to look forward and kind of plan it 5 years backwards, right? So that means, let's say, if you want to do it by 35, you have to start doing it when you're 30. So at least like try to focus, try to go on dates and see what you like, what you don't like, reflect and see where you can meet that type of person. So all of that takes planning, whether we like it or not. So
Yeah, yeah, I really like how you bring structure to something that so many people have this idea that like romance is only romantic if it's completely spontaneous and like no prior thought has gone into it. And I think that's completely insane. I think what is really romantic is putting intention and showing up and like, yeah, treating it like something that is as important to you as anything else. So I really love the way you break that down and create systems.
thank you. Yeah, the same analogy, like you want to, let's say, lose 10 pounds, right? It's not just because you kind of like, oh yeah, I put the thought out there. You have to see what your diet is. You have to exercise, you have to find what's
Yeah.
for you, and everyone's really different. So the same thing, or applying for a job, like why do people apply to 200 jobs in 2 weeks and they're not doing the same thing for dating sometimes? So it's
That's
this.
such a good one.
Yeah.
That's a really great comparison. Can you walk me through? It seems like you have event days and then maybe like non-event days, and I'm sure those are very different. But could you walk me through a normal day, either an event day or a non-event day? Like, what's the first thing you do when you wake up and open your laptop or check your phone or whatever?
Sure. So a lot of times I have meetings in the morning for people who signed up for a consultation and they will want to learn if matchmaking is for them. And we're also selective, so we need to know if that's a potential client of ours. Takes about 2 hours of my time typically. And then I do the matchmaking part where I already help the clients that I have and source the matches for them. And there's totally different ways that I do so from my own database. Then I also collaborate with my colleagues. Basically, that also takes that time. I do social media. So, about an hour or so, I plan social media and also try to plan what's next in terms of whether it's an event, whether I need to remind someone about an event that they've wanted to come, but they need a little nudge and things like that. So in the evening time, I do also have meetings with potential matches. So even they're in our system, we do need to see like if they still are single, if they want to meet that my client, so it has to be mutual. It takes time to screen them. And also I do try to take time for myself during the evening time. So that means going for a workout, maybe for a little walk, just to kind of clear my head, listen to some music. And then I have a building where there's spa. That also is a bit of like me time. And it's usually like around from 7 to like 9 p.m.
That's a very full, interesting day. How do you track people and like their preferences and their feedback and everything like that? Is it in your brain? Is it in spreadsheets?
So it's a combination of both. So I do have a system, like it's a special CRM system that is built by an amazing matchmaker. And now it's her full-time job. And she's basically sharing it where we can also, whatever matches that we have, other matchmakers can potentially tap into that. So that's definitely something that's really helpful. That's where you keep track of preferences, whether they're a match or not. You can see overall compatibility and you can also track dates. So, for instance, one of my clients, he said yes to a match, the match said yes to him, and now it's his time to schedule a date. I'm helping to kind of coordinate that. And once we finalize it, they do have basically a task to do. And after the date, the system is great because it also collects feedback. It's about 2 minutes that they kind of saying what they thought about the match, what they thought about the client, and whether they want to continue that connection or not. So, in that sense, it took off a lot of like administrative work that I needed to do off my plate.
That's awesome. When you first start like doing a new client intake, do you have a running list in your mind of like, oh, this sounds like somebody that would be really good to be matched with this person? Or do you have to always like go and check the
Absolutely.
database?
Absolutely. It's usually I do have people in mind right away. Like this is the person that probably is going to connect because whether we like it or not, when we talk to people, some people are just more memorable because maybe they're like really soft-spoken or energetic or like they're really kind of positive. So you remember them somehow, right? And they're also very like aligned. So when you talk to someone and you kind of understand what they're looking for and what's really important to them. You do have a couple of people in mind simply because you've interacted with them. Maybe they came to my events in person, and some people come for years to my events. So I get to know them through that. They get into a relationship, they get out of a relationship. So I'm happy that people do get into a relationship and then they learn something and then they come back. So yeah, I do get to know them through that. Let's say if I work with client who is not attending any of my events, I do know who I can potentially match him with or her with outside of the circle, meaning it's my database or my colleagues' database.
So on Instagram, you do a lot of content that I feel is like coaching. Do you keep that type of vibe and relationship with your actual clients where they might be saying like, "Oh, I want this, this, and this," in a person, and you go, oh, well, why don't you think about, improving this about yourself, or thinking about how much are you giving feedback and trying to, like, I guess, push them towards growth in a different way than what they're showing up with.
Yes, absolutely. So in matchmaking, sometimes the challenge is someone has like really high expectations, but the person that they want to date don't really want to date them back sometimes
Yeah.
for a certain reasons. Whether it's the way they communicate, whether it's the way they show up, or like maybe they need to fix their teeth. Like it's so many different reasons, right? I do tend to be very like transparent and like really honest with them without trying to hurt them. So if somebody, let's say he likes blonde, blue eyes, let's say like really stunning ladies, right? I do give them the reality check and I say, look, these are the ladies that unfortunately rejected you, and these are the reasons why they rejected you. It's not even sometimes really about the looks, it's maybe the way that the person came off at the event. Maybe he was talking to like so many women that the women that would be interesting to him, they thought that it was just he's not serious, you know. Of course, I try to give them that transparent message because it is all about self-growth, and they do pay me to give them the reality and the feedback. And sometimes, and I think the benefit of like a smaller firm where the founder really cares about the clients is part of it has to be honesty. So even if it hurts. So yes, I do sometimes have to give them certain feedback.
Did you see the movie that came out last year, The Materialists?
Absolutely. That was I dragged my boyfriend, even though it's a chick flick in the sense that it's only like mostly women would go see it. We both saw it. And did you watch it? I'm curious.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to know, is it accurate at all?
I would say that from the perspective of like there were so many employees in their company, it does look like a bigger company. Boutique matchmaking, they usually have there are two types of businesses. Is massive matchmaking companies that take anyone and everyone, kind of, right? And there are boutique ones that kind of selective about their clients. And from the movie, it seems like it was a massive company just simply because boutique matchmaking doesn't have that many staff. I would say the expectations and the job itself was pretty much realistic, but sometimes the client who's like 40-year-old and he wanted to date a 20-year-old, right? And if she was going to be, I think she was really transparent about like, what do you have in common, right? And her boss was like, next time you have to be like really nice. But some people who they get challenged and they don't answer these questions, or they keep being like a little bit delusional, they're not really usually taken by boutique matchmaking companies that care about the reputation. Something else. Oh, about the something bad that happened at the movie. I'm not sure if your audience watched it or not. So I don't want to like spoil it for them.
Spoilers.
Yeah, so there was something that's really bad happened during that movie, and I think that it's not as often that it happens actually, because I never heard about it. Maybe it happens like once or twice, but we would know all about it because usually this person is posted in the groups and like beware and kind of like flagged blacklisted in boutique matchmaking. But in that particular movie, I guess that was they kind of made it seem like it happens a lot, but typically it doesn't happen a lot.
Well, that's good to know. So you do a lot of different events. I'm very curious. How do you design an event so that people actually talk to strangers and like make deeper connections?
Sure. So typically, either I know people that come because they're in my database, or I've spoken to, maybe they came to other events. So I would say the majority are repeat attendees, and I already know them. I know their preferences. We've spoken. For the people that I don't know, we schedule Zoom meeting, like it's 15-20 minutes, and we get to know a little bit about them. At the event itself, we have icebreakers, and a lot of times I'm like really like, oh, hi, great to meet you. I do want to introduce you to someone. So I'm kind of like really trying to connect them. And that's how a lot of connections happen. That's how a lot of couples got formed. It's I think sometimes it's intuitive and not really explainable in the sense. That's what happens as well. And then, of course, people approach people that they feel they can have a connection with. Some people are a little more shy, some people are not. I just tell them just have a couple of drinks first and then but yeah, basically it's about like it's not just strangers coming, but people that I typically get to know a little bit before the event.
What type of icebreakers are there?
Sometimes we divide into the groups and like give them a little quiz, truth or dare. Sometimes I used once called Matchbox. It's like a special platform that they register people. You answer some questions and it kind of breaks you into the certain groups based on how you answer those questions. That was a great way to connect people as well. And then at the end of it, it will reveal your match and you have to find that match. Or there was a game that, let's say, Barbie and Ken, and for whoever I thought were a match, I gave the guy Ken and I gave the girl Barbie, right? Like on the piece of paper, and they just had to find each other through the crowd and
That's
see.
cute. Is there a common pattern that you see in New York City dating that people don't realize is like a common pattern?
Of course, I think the common pattern is illusion of choice, that people think that there's like millions of people out there and I'm not really gonna dive in, or there's a certain ick I have, like maybe this person said something that really rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm gonna not continue this. So I'm gonna try to find someone new. When the reality is sometimes you just need to peel the layers, right? Like you need to go on not just first dates, but go on a second date. If you felt like it was pretty decent connection and you felt spark in a sense of like curiosity, oh my God, this person is artistic. So that's really amazing. So sometimes it's all about continuing to discover the same connections. I think that's what's lacking sometimes. And then also, too many people are just busy and stuck in their workplace and they just don't have any energy to connect with new people anymore. Some people finish their work at 8, and when do they have time? And during the weekend, they only distress themselves. So that's also really, I think, part of the reason why so many people are like constantly looking for a relationship. It's all about the stress that we have in New York City as well.
Absolutely. And as you're always pointing out on your posts, now more than ever, people are either working from home and not seeing people, or they're in the office all day and then exhausted. And it's just like not allocating and prioritizing that energy in the way that
Yeah.
leads to
And
happiness and
if
love.
you're someone who is like really shy or someone who is working from home, maybe has a business or wants to really find that person, I do inspire people to create a blog about it or like Instagram, like a page where it's only about you and dating experience. I know so many bloggers that you don't have to become famous, but it's like your personal challenge because people that are your followers, they will kind of keep you accountable. So it will make
It's a
you
really
like,
good idea.
yeah, you can do it like with humor. You can do it from like, and some of my clients are engineers and they have a spreadsheet of people they went out with. You can do it from that angle, especially, or like with some kind of like maybe a challenge. Like today I'm gonna go to a singles event. Today I'm gonna go to networking event and see if I find any singles and let me count the singles or let me interview the singles. Something like that. I think it will be great.
Are there any common green flags that you hear from clients that tend to lead to relationship success?
A lot of the green flags are someone who is genuinely kind, someone who has their life together, someone who is just overall a nice human being, respectful, curious about life, and also wants to learn more about themselves.
Is there anything that you do to try to encourage people to cultivate that? Or do you think that is something that can be cultivated, or does it have to show up naturally?
Some of those are natural traits, and some of them are being cultivated by challenging yourself. Maybe you have to deal with trauma and go to therapy. Obviously, we do tend to attract people who are naturally curious. And yes, they are, of course, they're scared at first, but then they're also excited to go through this journey. And then self-reflective, self-aware. I do have some nerdy clients that like to research, or like they have a spreadsheet of people that they date. So they take those data points actually, and then they kind of, oh, this is what the pattern is. So this is really interesting. And then they learn something from it. So I love that. Everyone has their
I love
own
that.
yeah, everyone has their own way, because they're correct. Like there's definitely some pattern that we tend to have, and we just need to break it. So
Would you say your job is kind of split into three parts of like admin, coaching, and marketing? Or yeah, does that feel accurate?
yes, absolutely. So I would say one of the best analogies is like a real estate company, right? There is a buyer and there is a seller. Our job is to connect them, right? So my client is basically someone who is really looking for a relationship, and they have a certain idea of the person they're looking for. My job is to package them the right way, take the pictures, see what is really good about them, because a lot of people I work with, they initially don't see what is really good about them. Maybe they're a little shy, or maybe they're just didn't think about it in a certain way. We find all of that and we market with the people who are as aligned, right? So we are there to get the feedback. So let's say there were two perfect people for each other, but maybe they didn't have chemistry, or maybe he said something that threw her off. And sometimes it's about like reassuring, and communication. So I'm there like mediator sometimes, just to connect them, and things like that they probably didn't see on the first date, just kind of inspired to go on a second and third date. And that's how connections are being built.
You have a very interesting background in having worked in like a luxury jewelry gallery, doing something with government projects. How does all of that lead into what you do now? Like what things that you learned from those jobs lend to supporting your work today?
Well, first of all, I really appreciate your deep diving into what I did before. So basically, all of that mostly was sales. And I love sales for the reason that it's all about like a little bit of psychology, curiosity, because you need to learn what do they want. It's not about you in the process, it's about them, and try to solve their problems. So I've basically worked in very like high net worth jewelry sales, where I learned that sometimes it's not about how the person looks. Sometimes it's about how, like, the intuition, like how they behave themselves. And like, it's really, you just have to treat everyone with kindness. And obviously, that's part of like who you have to be. But also, like, it's not about like labeling anyone, because I've had instances where people, they would come in and they look like almost like they're homeless, but they would just go for the like the biggest piece. And it's not about the money, but it's just interesting observation, especially when they're old money. They're very confident, they know what they want, and it's about like their posture. And that experience of talking to people, finding what they want, and communicating with them. Actually, I took that into construction, which is a very big business in New York City. There's a lot of projects going on. So I've taken that in a B2B world, where I was selling to other companies, and learned how to bid on government projects and how to get those government contracts, which was a great journey in itself too. And definitely in that all of that process, I've learned how to connect people. Some of the people I connected, they became best friends. Some of them became romantic couples. Some of them, they became business partners or still doing business. Basically, that was my passion. My passion was to connect people. And I've taken that passion to establish my own club, in a sense, where the community, where I can actually connect people in the romantic sense.
How did you first come up with the idea that that's what you wanted to transition into?
Honestly, I think being an extrovert, I missed a lot of the perks, so to say, or a lot of the communication during COVID, and working from home and not being able to go out. But also, I read an article about a matchmaker. I think it was in New York Times, or like some of one of those issues. And it sparked my interest and curiosity. And then I saw, and once you kind of start thinking about it, you start noticing a lot of things that are like that. So then I saw an ad in a magazine. It was about for this really big company. It's called Kelleher. They're like also reputable. And I was like, oh my God, that's actually like a profession. So kind of, reaffirmed what I was thinking about. So then I started to be like, okay, I'm actually not really good in dating myself. So I started to reflect on my own dating patterns. And I think all of that curiosity just kind of realized into what I'm doing right now. And especially, I had all that experience of sales and talking about people, whether you like it or not, people end up talking to you about their relationships. It's a really, really primal thing in the sense. And also, like, we're social human beings. So people like to share their experiences. And yeah, so I definitely saw that there's a need for it. There's a lack of connection sometimes in the romantic sense. So I was like, this is what I want to do.
Do you feel that you have definitely found your calling and this is something you want to do, like forever?
I definitely am someone who likes to inspire, and I do know the benefit of like a good relationship because, like, when you're feeling down or you're feeling like the world is falling apart, sometimes you do need someone who is there, like, who's going to support you, or they just like maybe sometimes they see more about you than you see in yourself at the moment. So I think that's a really important part of the journey. So whether it's just being in a romantic sense, like a matchmaker. Obviously, I try to help people in other areas. Let's say some of my clients, they say, I want to buy an apartment or I'm looking for this. And if I know someone who is really good for them, if they're a realtor or not, I will definitely introduce them. Or I'm looking for a project to, like, if I hear something, if there are two people that will match, I will definitely do my part to introduce them.
Seems like no matter what you end up doing your whole life career, you're going to be matchmaking in some way or another.
Whether it's gonna be just the romantic matchmaking, but in the end of the day, you just become like a source for a lot of people. So, yeah, that's just, I guess, part of my personality, and that's how it actually went into my business.
How do you manage your day to day? So you sent me kind of like an overarching goals oriented to-do list, but I'm curious, like, yeah, just when you wake up on a Tuesday, is it how much are you checking that CRM and seeing, oh, what activities need to happen, or do you have a written daily to-do list?
First of all, I wake up thinking only about coffee. My first cup of
Good
coffee.
answer, good answer.
Let's be really honest, like that sometimes you're like, oh my God, I really want a coffee right now. I have a list, typically a calendar that's really keeping me on track of like sometimes I have to meet people in person, sometimes I do Zoom calls and get to know what they're looking for. So usually it's in the morning, either in sometime in the morning or in the evening because people work in New York City and of course, they only have this much time to also devote to see if matchmaking makes sense to them. I try not to work during the weekends, but sometimes I do. Basically, my morning is all about like first trying to see potential clients, then I'm trying to service my clients, and then I also have to talk to my staff. I have staff that we need to kind of catch up what's going on, whether it's recruiting, which is like finding the people their matches, right? Whether it's how many people are coming to the event. Later on, I do have to screen those matches, especially people who recruited like new ladies or gentlemen, and I need to have a Zoom call to get to know them. They probably never heard about me and our company yet, but they signed up and they were curious to see if they're a match for my client, and then some time for myself. And of course, social media too. I try to revive that. Definitely try to connect to more people via Instagram and TikTok, and that's already a little too much, but
Yeah.
but I actually love it. I try to do it with a sense of humor too sometimes.
You succeed. I'd say like a beautiful balance of like humor, authenticity, and wisdom.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right, well, let's get into the to-do list that you sent me. So it seems like it's kind of like a combination of accountability and goals in your to-do list.
Yes, let's do it. Let's dive in.
All right, so you have exercise 4 times a week. So
Yes.
what does that look like, and why? you have that on your to-do list? Is that to keep yourself accountable?
So I do have that on to-do list because a year ago I used to exercise 5 days a week. And then I did abandon that for like a year because I really concentrate. I had to service my clients and it was a growing business, like in the sense that I was the last person on that list. And then I kind of realized that it's not serving me, that I need to build some processes. And obviously, there's some repetitions that in every process company that a company has. I've concentrated on that. And then I decided to devote more time on myself because otherwise I'm just going to go bananas and I will not be able to service my clients. So part of it is also like I'm working from home, just like a lot of people are sometimes. And without like being in the four walls, like you need to go outside, you need to experience, you need to go and meet other people. And basically that was the idea, is to exercise. It's almost like a meditation in a sense. Also go for a walk, and that's part of it. It was also go to spa. So it's all of it like a complex that you need to kind of, after a stressful day, or just basically focus on yourself a little bit.
Absolutely. You got to keep your own cup full because you're spending your whole day and job just giving to other people. So, yes, very,
Right.
very important to take
Exactly.
care of yourself. All right. Then you have freeze eggs. That's like more of a big project type thing on the to-do list. Yeah. Walk me through, why is that on the to-do list?
Yeah, I put it out there because I think it's important for, especially I'm being in this industry, it's important to be outspoken about it. For
Mm.
someone who owns their businesses, or maybe they're not planning to have kids like right away. I'm 34, I'm going to be 35 in May. So I think that's the best year to freeze my eggs, even though I do have a partner. Like it's not like we're going to try to have kids right away. So I think it's important to keep your mind a little calmer. I think it's a great way to plan ahead and stay calmer. And there's so much technology right now out there, so many different methods, and you can go to a different country to do it. And it's definitely more accessible than I think it was years ago.
Absolutely. So part of it is for yourself, but also that you want to kind of be a role model for your clients and talk about it. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, and I think we should be open about like all of these conversations. And I do see some people who are like in their 40s and they never froze their eggs, and they come to me and they say, "Oh, I don't have to freeze my eggs," or anything. And sometimes like you need to be, I don't know, like organisms are totally different for everyone. But if you're like 45, I think there's a lower possibility of like being naturally pregnant and carrying that child.
Absolutely.
If you don't want to be in that situation, if you're currently in your 30s, I think it's okay to invest some money and just be like, whether you want to have kids, I mean, in the sense that whether that's your goal right now or not, I think it's good to have an option, because sometimes I do have women that are like, "Oh, I never wanted to have kids," but then they came to me and they're 40 and now they're like, "You know what? I actually do want to have a kid." So, yeah, if that's
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
excited, I think it's okay to go ahead and do it. So,
Next thing on your list, you have grow business 2x. Is there a time container for that goal?
yes, so during this year, part of the reason is because we raised prices, because when we work with someone who is very like aligned, or they understand the value, they do seem to be like a better clients because they're invested more into the process, or maybe they're more self-reflective. So I know it sounds weird, but the more prices you raise, the people that come to you, obviously there's a reason for the raise, right? But also like there are people who come that are more aligned, and maybe they
Yeah,
trust you more. And yeah, it's basically, somehow it's definitely a great policy to screen better clients.
that makes perfect sense. It's like it's a self-selecting thing, and it's people who are really wanting to invest in themselves and they are proving that. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yes, and they understand that, and I always say it up front. It's a 50-50 partnership in the sense I can do my part of the job, but if we need to fix something or like you're sabotaging, like I have some clients who sabotage. We need that from you too. We need you to be
Yeah,
accountable. It's not all about just introduction. Sometimes people are in their own way of like happiness. Definitely helps in that
absolutely.
process.
Then next you have become a public speaker. What does that look like?
So I actually experienced being like a public speaker and organizer, and I'm just trying to be a little more exposed in the media. So part of it, I'm gonna have like a radio talk with someone here locally, and it's gonna be on February 12th. So I just want to keep that going, like because media, learning how to pitch to media, being like on TV or radio or like podcasts, it's basically you have to put yourself out there, right? As well, not just to wait to be approached by someone, but you also have to be like, okay, and it's a skill in its own as well. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. So whether you want to be on TV, like they need a certain information from you that's probably going to serve their public and or maybe some certain contact. So PRs firms do that, but smaller business sometimes they cannot really afford the PR. So somehow you need to do it, whether it's a skill that you learn or just some contacts that you develop. So
And then finally, you have a launch mastermind for women dating. What does that look like?
So I do have a lot of women who cannot afford matchmaking or they just not sure if that's something for them. So a part of one way that I can help them is to inspire because women are very powerful in dating, whether they want to hear it or not. They're technically the ones that actually choose the partner. And what I want to do, I see a lot of women like in their 40s and 50s where they're the ones that are more active in looking for a partner and they just don't find the quality matches. And basically, I want to help them in the mastermind where it's going to cost about 3500 and it's going to be 2 months and they're going to have some material that they can watch online plus we will be meeting once a week to see like how it's going in their dating journey, where did they go from all these recommendations, what they've done, maybe brainstorm on some of the situations that are happening. So basically they can invest into their mindset or maybe their approach or communication. I'll give them the resource where they can meet quality people. Yes, so that's the idea behind it.
So cool. That's awesome. Great that you want to reach and help people at all levels. It's really cool.
Definitely. I love that. I love helping people. I love inspiring them. I'm all up for that. So I need to just basically put some finishing touches on that and launch it. So that's my goal.
Nice. Congratulations. That's so cool.
Thank you.
Okay, final question. If you could see anybody's to-do list in the whole world, whether that be a specific person or a job title, whose to-do list would you most like to see?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Someone that I admire in my own industry. It's a great way to see what they're up to and also like get inspired. One of the people that I admire in my industry, her name is Maria Avgitidis, and she's Greek and she's actually in New York City. We're supposed to meet tomorrow, but because of the storm, it got canceled, but she's like a great mentor in our industry in New York City. And what she's really good at is actually pitching herself to the media. So she's a matchmaker. She owns her matchmaking agency, but she's also very good at like, she just published a book and she is all over like on all these channels like Today Show, but she does it herself. So I'm definitely very curious to know what her plans are. Like, what does she have plans for the future? And maybe what does she want to do? And yeah, definitely.
Great answer. That's super cool. Wonderful. Well, I've learned so much from talking to you. I really love your perspective on everything. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Sure. Since Valentine's Day is coming, I want for people to be inspired and maybe to see what is their to-do list in terms of their dating, and just go out there, please meet people in real life. And if you have a challenge of meeting the partner, just maybe start blogging or like writing or like do a couple of reels or just going on events. And consistency is exactly what will help you in the journey. It's not only just doing it once. So yeah, I will definitely, that's my 2 cents about a little inspiration this year.
Very well said. Excellent advice.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming on.
I'm Jen Tracy, and you've been watching The To-Do Show. If you're curious about how other people tackle their days, and honestly, who isn't, there's another conversation right here that'll probably surprise you. Go check it out. And here's something interesting. There's actually research showing that people fall into 8 distinct patterns when it comes to how they organize their lives. Productivity and psychology experts like Adam Grant and Gretchen Rubin have been studying this for years. We built a quiz based on that research, and people keep telling us it's weirdly accurate. It takes about 5 minutes, and you'll understand why certain systems work for you and why others never stick. Head to thetodoshow.com or check the link in the description to take the quiz. And please, please, please hit subscribe, and you can check that off your to-do list.